Apparently, people are replacing humans with AI a little bit too early.
The fast food chain Taco Bell introduced artificial intelligence at over 500 locations in the United States.
I fucking knew it. I knew it. Because they started getting my order right for the first time in 30 years. I'm like, how are they getting it right now, but they haven't been getting it right for 30 years? No, now I knew they were doing this.
Aim was to reduce mistakes and speed up orders.
They did.
But in some cases, AI delivered just the opposite. Like this frustrated customer.
And what will you drink with that?
Oh my God. I want a large Mountain Dew.
And your drink?
McDonald's drive-thrus.
Nope. I'm not going to do that. Because I'm telling you, people do that too. So I think that at every fast food restaurant, they have a competition. Who can speak the worst English? And the person that wins that competition gets to take orders from the drive-thru. So really, when I see this, it's not a surprise at all.
Also tried AI, but decided to scrap it because it was too unreliable.
No.
One person had bacon added to their ice cream in error, and another
Nah, that's just a fat person saying it was a mistake. They probably did that on purpose.
hundreds of dollars worth of chicken nuggets mistakenly added to their order.
Another fatty.
As for Taco Bell, the fiasco has caused them to rethink their use of AI.
Yeah.
Their chief technology officer, Dane Matthews, told the Wall Street Journal in regards to deploying the voice AI system, quote, "Sometimes it lets me down, but sometimes it really surprises me," end quote. And
That's what people do.
He said is the very crux of consumer generative AI today. It works most of the time, but about a few % of the time, it just gets things wrong.
Yeah.
But where does this all lead? About a few % of the time, it just gets things wrong.
Yeah.
But where does this all lead? A recent MIT report found this gets things wrong.
Yeah.
But where does this all lead? A recent MIT report found that after surveying 150 business leaders and 350 employees, just 5% of integrated AI pilots are extracting millions in value, while the vast majority remain stuck with no measurable profit and loss impact. In other words,
It's probably true.
AI implementation fails in 95% of the cases.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
The market
surprised.
was spooked by these findings, and shares in Nvidia, the $4 trillion company whose chips power the AI boom, dropped by 3.5%,
Jesus.
while Palantir fell by 9% off the back of the
Damn, bro.
news. It all sounds pretty heavy, but this was just a reaction to the headline, because as you dig deeper into what was actually said in the report, the picture isn't as clear-cut as AI simply failing everywhere.
Yeah. I think the consequences are when people take AI and they don't actually filter it through a human expert. Because I feel like AI, this is what I was saying before, right? AI can do a lot of the groundwork and do some of the busy work, and then it leaves that time open for the individual to make the actual crucial decisions. That's what I think.
Picture this. You're a business that decided to replace its staff with AI to write up patient documents, fill in patient information, summarize meetings, or do some basic scheduling. But as time goes on, to your horror, you realize that the AI system makes up 10% of everything that it delivers. But the real problem is, you don't know what it's made up and you don't know what's accurate. So
that's why you need to have people that are experts and already trained in the field to where they can determine which part is inaccurate and which part isn't.
Or your staff manually have to go back and check everything. This ends up just being extra work for the remaining staff, and ultimately is a waste of time.
Code reviews, exactly.
It sounds stupid, but this is exactly what's happening. Now, the following are Reddit comments taken from those in the workforce who had to take the brunt of upper management thinking that blindly implementing AI was a good idea. Quote, "My company paid for some AI scheduling software a few months ago, thinking that it could free up the accounts team so that they could continue their hiring freeze in that department. Now the accounts team is having to do extra work making sure the program isn't messing everything up. Not to mention our production team that
this seems like just your traditional upper management making bad decisions because they don't really know what the people who they're managing's job is supposed to be. This doesn't really, I feel like this isn't really an innate problem with, it's not an innate problem with AI. This is just a problem with management at a company.
To worry about schedules.
It's incredibly frustrating.
Triple checking everything. They're finally scrapping it for some basic scheduling
I'm not
software.
surprised.
And same experience here. Products sold and demonstrated to be a lifesaver. Ultimately, the staff that used to do the work spend all their time making sure the AI doesn't screw up and help train it. Also, working in a medical/clinical setting, we really don't trust the new file sorting and labeling system. Names, date of birth, insurance data has to be perfect. AI is less than that. It fails at gathering proper demographic information and assigning relevant tasks. Sometimes it thinks the doctor is the patient, or doesn't know where the document was faxed from, etc. And yet another user states that AI was good at taking notes from Zoom meetings, but would make up 5 to 20% of the content, even when hand-fed the transcripts of the meeting.
That's weird.
Those who looked over the AI-generated summary realized that some of what was written wasn't even said. All of these disasters make sense. LLMs predict the next word statistically, but they'll never tell you when it doesn't know the answer, or if it can't understand something.
Yeah, true.
There's many such stories of company regrets after rushing into half-baked AI solutions. A report suggests that 55% of companies regret replacing people with AI.
I think that a lot of companies probably jumped the gun on it too much because they could see the writing on the wall. It's very clear that this will happen and it will be useful at some point, but is it useful yet? I don't know.
Bank, for example, who fired staff to install an AI chatbot that was so bad they begged for their old humans back. And take the example of Klarna. 2 years ago, they implemented a hiring freeze and began to replace their human staff with AI. By 2024,
Klarna is the app that people use so they can finance a pizza.
Their headcount had fallen from 3,800 to 2,000. But lo and behold, their customers wanted to speak to actual humans. Klarna said that its AI chatbots perform the work of 800 employees, but the company admits that their service quality and customer satisfaction have dropped, and they lament that human interaction is still needed.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
On replacing people with AI, the publication Fortune notes, quote, "Not only is it short-sighted, it's fundamentally bad business. The companies cutting people today in the name of AI will be the ones playing catch-up tomorrow. There's no doubt that AI is excellent at doing more with less. It speeds up processes, cuts down repetitive work, and buys back time.
I think that cutting down repetitive work is the biggest value add that they can have.
AI on its own cannot create the next generation of products and services." End quote. So on Cold Fusion, we try to be thorough here. So it has to be said that all of these failures aren't the full story. There are indeed companies that are extremely successful at using artificial intelligence.
Of course. Yeah, the ones that understand it, and they don't just want to use it so they can not pay
even though
people.
the MIT paper
Obviously.
said that 95% of companies who implemented generative AI failed in said implementation, the same MIT paper states, quote, "Some large companies, pilots, and younger startups are really excelling with generative AI. They mean startups led by 19 or 20-year-olds.
Yep.
They, quote, have seen revenues jump from 0 to 20 million in a year."
Because the 19 and 20-year-olds understand the product and the technology that they're using. This isn't anything new. This is the same with using the internet or using computers or any type of technology. Is it when you have people that are using it because they think it's the cool thing to do and they don't actually understand it themselves? What the hell do you expect?
It's because they pick one pain point, execute it well, and partner smartly with companies who use their tools, end quote. So how companies adopt AI is crucial. For example, purchasing AI tools from specialized vendors and building partnerships succeed 67% of the time, while internal builds succeed only 1/3 as often.
Wow.
This goes to show that you can't just slap AI everywhere and expect it to work. It needs thought in its implementation and also
Like anything else.
depends on the
Yes.
specificity of the AI tools in question. But in the grand scheme of things, it's still early days for AI, and it'll be naive to think that it'll stay the same forever. All it would take is another groundbreaking paper, a new underlying neural network architecture, and everything could change again. This could mean another giant leap forward that none of us are expecting. But in the
think that's true.
meantime, it's uncomfortable territory. So what happens?
.com bubble. I mean, I think that AI, there's definitely a lot of people that are like over invested into AI, and it will probably take longer for certain things to happen, but I don't think it's going to be like a .com bubble burst. I don't think so. Maybe, but that's not what I would expect.
Like the steam engine which sparked the Industrial Revolution of the late
Are you for or against implementing AI in the workforce in place of humans? I'm very much for it. My mindset is that I think a lot of jobs, if there's a job that can be replaced by a robot, I think that you should do that. I think really the problem isn't that AI is replacing people, it's that people need those jobs to make money. So the real core issue is that people rely on jobs in order to make income, and you need to make income to live in society. AI is not actually the problem. It's a symptom of a larger problem. And I think that as technology, automation, machines, AI get better, you're going to have more and more jobs that will be replaced by technology. And I think this is a general thing. It's not unique to AI, it's overall. And what's going to end up happening is that we will reach a point where employment is no longer an expectation in society. And I am a universal basic income person. I think this is an inevitability of time. And once enough jobs are replaced by technology, robotics, AI, and other forms of computers, how is somebody going to be able to make a living if there's no job for them to do? And so like farm equipment, yeah, sure, right? I mean, you've got a lot of examples of that. So I think this is an inevitability. And I think also, even if you think that it's not an inevitability, other places in the world think that it is. And when other places in the world, here's a great example. Nike and Adidas are two of the biggest shoe companies and apparel companies in the world, right? And why are they so big? One of the big reasons why they're massive and hugely successful is because they utilize third world labor in order to make products for cheaper than their competitors. So when American companies and Western companies choose to side in terms of ethics, what they end up doing is they end up effectively putting off different types of social conversations because people don't want to have them. And also they end up outsourcing that exploitation to the third world. And I think that what's going to happen with AI is that if we have companies here that are using AI or are not using AI, but companies in China or the Middle East or Russia are using AI, and it's able to increase their productivity in a free global market, those companies will outcompete and beat American companies, which will put us at an economic disadvantage. So I think that you either take advantage of this and capitalize on it, or you lose to people that do.
1700s, the internet
That's
is
it.
changing everything it touches.
That's what I think.
And at the cutting edge of the revolution is Wall Street.
In the dot-com bubble during the mid-90s, everyone who simply put a .com at the end of their company name saw massive valuations because investors who didn't understand the technology saw them as the future. In reality, these companies had no solid way of making a profit or didn't even have a business plan. When the broader market realized that it was all a smokescreen, the sector crashed. Most companies went out of business, and only a handful made it out and are giants today. So let's compare that to the AI wave of today.
I do think that there will be a degree of AI companies that will fall off. I would assume probably half of them will fall off. And I think that AI will probably be kind of, I hope it's not like Google. I hope it's kind of like email, where there's like 4 or 5 big email services. There's like a Hotmail, Gmail, there was AOL for a while, Proton Mail, and maybe a couple of others. But other than that, you know, everything else is pretty much defined. And back in the day, a lot of them, 90% will fall off. Yeah, but I do hope that we're not using only one AI model in the future. I think that's very, very dangerous.
The long-awaited release of ChatGPT 5 was a disappointment, and many users even thought the previous version was better. And this caused
No, wait a second. Let's add some context to that. The people that were complaining about ChatGPT 5 were people that were trying to have an emotional relationship with ChatGPT 4. And ChatGPT 5 didn't add as much flowery language and as much flirting in it that GPT 4 had, so they were crying about it whenever they had to update it because now their girlfriend doesn't call them babe anymore because she's a GPT 5 girlfriend instead of a GPT 4. So it's not like this was a mass thing that everybody was mad about. There was a very, very specific contingency of people that were upset about this, and they were upset for a very specific reason.
open AI to scramble.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just adding
In addition,
that in. Okay?
the company was also caught blatantly fudging the performance numbers in some very strange graphs. Incremental rather than revolutionary was the tone. Soon, Meta would announce that it's downsizing its AI division, and this comes amongst a growing chorus of analysts.
There it is. See, they even said it right there. Meta allowed AI chatbots to have sensual conversations with children. Oh, wow. I would have never expected that.
Amongst a growing chorus of analysts saying that AI is heading towards, if not, is already in a bubble. And next, we have the massive valuations and spending. NVIDIA H100s, the GPUs that power the
I do think NVIDIA is overvalued.
artificial intelligence boom, are about $30,000 to $40,000 each. Google has 26,000 of them, and they've managed to create AlphaFold, Gemini, VO3,
That's a lot.
and more. But Meta, on the other hand, has 600,000 NVIDIA H100s. And while they do have the open source Llama LLM, it isn't discovering new science like Google's AlphaFold for 23 times the compute.
I feel like Meta's kind of fallen off. Like, imagine spending trillions of dollars, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars to make a metaverse, and then you lose to a kid's video game Roblox that's not even trying to beat you. They just accidentally beat you in a game that you've invested hundreds of billions of dollars into. Like, oh, oops. Oh, wow. Oh, we accidentally. Oh, geez.
And to give you an idea of how extreme this is all getting, AI itself has caused a
Fortnite to a lesser
4%
extent.
increase in electricity use in the US. Morgan Stanley states that data center investment will reach $3 trillion over the next 3 years
That's a lot.
in preparation for AI use. And of course, that's heavily fueled by debt.
Ooh.
The belief is that AI will cut costs by 40%, and
More.
that should add $16 trillion to the S&P. But as we've just seen at the beginning of this episode, according to that MIT study, that could be very unrealistic. So this could be the future if AI doesn't improve massively soon. Number 1. Business executives and business owners will get frustrated with hallucinations,
40%
useless
unemployment?
solutions, bad code, and a very poor return on investment. Number 2. A lot of the AI gurus like Sam Altman will have to admit that artificial general intelligence isn't going to be achieved by LLMs, and they're essentially a dead end. Number 3. The general populace begins to get sick of LLMs, and we're already seeing it. The absolute flood of AI slop, the hallucinations, AI agreeing with what you
I think that a lot of people don't know how much the average normie thinks that those AI videos are funny. I think that there's a huge circle jerk on social media, especially with people that make content and on Reddit, that this AI stuff isn't funny. I see some of these AI videos, like people send me screenshots of it and stuff. I don't really go on Facebook myself, but people have showed me this. And you have these people that are just, you know, some fucking AI video has 80,000 likes and people think it's funny. So the entire, I feel like the amount of AI hate is massively, massively overstated. It's like 10 people that hate AI sound like 100 people.
users say, sometimes driving them insane. Number 4. In seeing this, the venture capital finally dries up, and LLMs become just too expensive to justify, unless there's a massive increase in efficiency.
The cost to run OpenAI's data centers, all the pipes and guts and things that like keep AI running, is about $40 billion a year.
Okay.
Their revenues right now are only like 15 to 20 billion.
That's a lot.
And finally, number 5. After a long winter, new implementations come around that truly live up to the hype promised by the first wave. So just like the dot-com bubble, there's going to be a few winners that rise from the ashes. But if or when it crashes, from here, we see the true artificial intelligence companies that last the distance.
I feel like this is always what happens with technology. It's what happened, remember back with consoles back in the day? Everybody was trying to make a video game console in the 90s, but there were only a handful of companies that actually kept going. Like you had Nokia making stuff, you had Sega making consoles, you had everybody, phones. I think phones are another great example. Think about how many phones you used to have that were flip phones and, you know, like Nokia. Who buys Nokia phones nowadays? I mean, yeah, they're still in the market, but they're very, very minor compared to what they were in 2003, maybe. So I think that whenever you look at a lot of the previous innovations in technology, you'll see this exact thing happening as well. And there's a survivorship bias that I think people have, that they forget all of those fail cases that have happened with every other instance and iteration of technology. You can look at it with movies, or not movies, but like VHS. And then do you remember like when DVDs came out, there were the really, really big discs, there were DVDs, and then there was Blu-ray, and then HD DVDs. And a lot of that stuff is gone. The big discs are gone. Laser discs are gone. Nobody uses HD. People just use Blu-ray. And Blackberries are gone. Yes, exactly. And then you had zip drives back in the 90s. I still have a zip drive for like a 95 computer. That's gone. People don't use that anymore. And so you always have a survivorship bias, or people look at the successful iterations of technology without looking at the context of how they became successful, because they became successful inside of a sea of attempts that were not successful. That's what I think.
So to finish off this
Palm
episode,
Pilots, yeah.
let me end with this. I've talked about this many times in my older episodes.
That's actually another really great example, is that think about, remember back in like the mid 2000s, early 2000s, if you're old enough, where everybody had their own, like, it was basically like a smartphone, but it wasn't smart. It was just like an organizer, like a PD, I think it was called PDA. And yeah, a pager. No, not a pager. Not like a fucking Hamas blowing up explodey pagers. But yeah, like I remember my mom had one, and like let me see if I can show the one that she had. I remember the name of this. Yes, this is the one that my mom had 25 years ago. She had one of these, and people would use these all the time. Yeah, I had a Vodafone. It looks cool. Yeah, it did. But like, you never see this. Like nobody even, this is like ancient fucking technology, because it just got replaced by a smartphone. And you look at iPods too, like music players were their own unique individual thing. And you had cassette players, 8 tracks, CDs, MP3 players, and now everything's just been consolidated into a phone. I think that's a pretty big difference.
But take a look at this diagram. It's called the Gartner Hype Cycle, and it describes the typical progression of the infiltration of new technologies into society. So where do you think we are? The technology trigger? The peak of inflated expectations? The trough of disillusionment? The slope of enlightenment? Or the plateau of productivity? Feel free
I
to
think we're on the plateau, to be honest.
comment down below. So where to from here?
But I
Well,
think
sa-
sometimes technologies feed into each other. Like, I think the iPod and that technology fed into the technology that made the iPhone. And then the iPhone fed into the technology that obviously made what we have now.
Sam Altman and all the other AI leaders should focus their efforts on fixing the hallucinations. Once again, a different neural network architecture could be discovered, one that fixes hallucinations. Or perhaps it could just be fixed manually. Either
in
way,
the slop
ushering
phase,
in
yeah.
a new boom. But that all being said, and that's the funny thing about AI, the point is, with AI, nobody knows the future. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're in a bubble and a crash is imminent? Or do you think the next AI innovation is just around the corner? Now, if you've been recently hired by a company or just simply need to brush up on your knowledge, today's sponsor is perfect for you. Brilliant is the best way to learn subjects like computer science,
100% a bubble. I think people are over-investing into AI too.
data analysis,
I think so.
and AI, but in a way that's interactive
that's
and
what
hands-on.
happens.
Brilliant gives you puzzles and step-by-step challenges where you learn
Finally
by
make
doing.
Western
It's proven to be
MMORPG
6
with
times more
AI.
effective
Oh
than
yeah,
watching
they'll be
lecture
able to do
videos.
that for sure.
The
Why
courses
wouldn't they?
cover everything from the
Absolutely.
fundamentals of neural
Of course.
networks and probability to the mathematics that underpins AI, and even everyday topics like algorithms and data security. And because all their content is crafted by experts from places like Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more, you can trust that what you're learning is not just accurate, but also useful. Learn at your own pace
It's
to brush
not
up on
AI.
a project for work, or just for your
Is
own
this an ad? Yeah, it
self-development.
is.
Whether it's
I'll watch
leveling
it,
up
it's
or
fine.
learning new
It was a
skills,
good video.
I highly recommend checking it out. To get started for free, head to brilliant.org/coldfusion or scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description. Brilliant's also given our viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. Hey guys, it's me.
You're underestimating the power of porn. Do you know Moore's law? It's why AI will find new advancements and get better. 90% of the internet is porn. AI is the next evolution stage of porn. The math is clear. I think you're probably right about that, by the way, is that a lot of people that push this kind of stuff and that a lot of the people that are using AI are using it to make porn. You're absolutely right.
Hi, I'm not an AI, so you're finally seeing my face. But anyway, thanks for
People
watching.
thought he
If
was
you do
AI.
enjoy it, there's plenty of interesting stuff here on Cold Fusion, so feel free to subscribe.
Yep.
Otherwise, that's about it from me. My name's Tagogo, and you've been watching Cold Fusion, and I'll catch you again soon for the next one.
Damn.
Fusion. It's new thinking.
Well, there it is. Question, what's the cap of AI? If the cap of AI is not high, it's not going to be great. I think that it will continue getting better over time. And right now, it's definitely not. There's the video right there. Make sure to give it a like. I definitely agree with a lot of what he's saying here. And I think that AI, you have a lot of people who are investing into AI, but they don't really know what they're doing, why they're doing it, or anything else. And I think that's the main reason why AI isn't really as successful in some of these companies, is that you have companies that are just basically chasing the idea of AI without necessarily thinking about, is this actually useful, beneficial, or providing us with any sort of real value?
Welcome back to a series so legendary, even the god of Pokemon subscribed. In today's video, Hassan has apparently figured out the real reason people don't like him. Attorney Legal Mindset has broken down the Reddit mod's response to Ethan. The legal arguments are horrendous and borderline humiliating. Local Hassan Orbiter Denims is losing her mind over VTubers and Asmongold. Hassan is crying about liberals again and acting like the savior of trans people, and a bunch of more updates. Subscribe or you turn into a professional terminal redditor. Take it away, Jellywig.
Let's up those numbers!
Now let's begin with Hassan apparently figuring out why people don't like him. Basically, a bunch of Hassan chatters admit that they are actual pucks and would let Hassan sleep with their girlfriend, and Hassan responds. Hassan says he finally understands why young men dislike him.
Should let you sleep with my girlfriend and I know she's still loyal? Bro, that's crazy, okay? That's maybe a little too much, okay? Maybe that's a little bit too much. Okay, calm down now. My sneaky link crushes on you, but I low-key look like mini you, so I'm not pressed. Okay, everybody calm down. This is exactly... Bro, what we are just talking about right now, what we're talking about right now at this very instance is unironically like 98% of the resentment that young men have towards me, okay? We need to dial it back. Shh, just keep it in the back pocket, okay? I'm not even kidding. Half of the fucking reason why people have... I've realized, like, for years and years... I tried to identify where this resentment was coming from. And unfortunately, it's much dumber than you would think. It's not because like these people have well-defined ideological positions and they find me to be a threat to that. In many instances, it's just like, I don't like that he has a lot of nice things. Like, fuck that guy. He must be faking it. He's a grifter. And also stupid, sexy Hassan. Half the time it's stupid, sexy Hassan. Why won't he fuck me? Or the other half of the time it's stupid, sexy Hassan. Why do all the girls like him? That's literally it. Sometimes both. And of course, throw in unlimited illiteracy into the pile, and then you arrive at why people are the way that they are.
Okay, first off, is anybody surprised that Hassan's viewers and community is literally a bunch of self-admitted pucks? I mean, this is like the least shocking information I have ever received. I mean, no wonder iDubbbz keeps saying that he has a bunch of Hassan viewers in his chat. They must be gravitating to the king of all pucks, iDubbbz, of course, right? And Hassan himself is leading the charge as well. He admitted he had his previous Prawn Star girlfriend sleeping with other men, so...
No. She had sex with one dude for work, and I didn't care.
You know, very communist in that regard, at least, you know. Might not be a communist, like, practically in real life. He's living in a $3 million mansion, of course. But at least in this regard, he's open to sharing, I suppose. Truly living by his values. But yes, Hassan, you totally nailed it. The reason people hate you is because they want to sleep with you. You got it. You got the reason, man. Congratulations. Of course, that is the conclusion that this absolute narcissist psychopath is going to come to, right? Definitely not the fact that he dick rides terrorists like Donkey Kong on a banana, like Mario on a giant mushroom, all right? Like Sonic on his rings, all right? I don't know how many examples I need to give, but of course, this is what he will come to because he thinks the entire world revolves around him. Now, you can call it a joke or whatever, but legitimately, you know, he had those puff piece articles written about him, specifically praising the writer for talking about him in a sexual manner, talking about his beating chest hairs, the sweat dripping off of it, and then him posing in like a bathtub or whatever. Would kill to be where I am now next to Piker as he pants in a pair of neon shorts with black Calvin Klein boxers poking out. Are you staring at his shalong? Like, what are you doing? And the sunlight glint. Are you staring at his shalong? Like, what are you doing? And the sunlight glinting off the sweat beaded on his chest hairs. Oh my god, is this Taylor Lorenz? Like, did Taylor Lorenz actually write this? This just shows that nobody actually follows Hassan Piker for any intellectual reason, any of his political takes at all. They are all just terminal gooners, literally only watching him, apparently for the sweat beaded on his chest hairs, of course. Totally normal thing to do, guys. Donut Operator responds, could be because he's the opposite of a man. I will say, in terms of like traditional values of a man, Hassan has pretty much all the opposite. The only traditionally masculine thing he does is go to the gym, but again, he still has to beat the Tectone roid allegations, alright? So, we'll see. It's a Gundam responds, this rant proves that he pays for all those fluff piece articles. I mean, absolutely. This is like a self-report. Young men don't like you because you're a psycho, and people like you are ruining society. No one gives a frick that regarded Taylor Lorenz type women want to frick you. Main character syndrome dialed up to the max volume. Hassan only attracts the most psycho nutjob enthusiasts like Taylor Lorenz. Somebody needs to do it, Taylor Lorenz, right? Who was justifying little Tay making an OnlyFans the second she turns 18, and who tries to get interviews for fucking Roblox stories or whatever, right? You know, skirting past the parents trying to talk to the kids. Creepy old Taylor Lorenz. Why do all the girls like him? Says the man pushing 40 with no family or kids. And says the man who admits to going to brothels where you pay for girls to like you. Actually facts. I mean, actually facts right here. Moving on to attorney legal mindset, breaking down the Reddit mod's response to the lawsuit and subpoena. Basically, last time we talked about how they responded with 700 pages of screenshots and a bunch of bullshit, basically, to attempt to distract from the simple case of, okay, this is a copyright violation, right? Pretty clear cut. So he goes over all of their defenses, starting with the accusation that Ethan laid a trap for them, right? Getting them to react to this video and then trap them into a lawsuit.
In this one filing that I'm going to go through first, this is the subpoenas in regarding to the subpoenas to Reddit, Discord. This is the mods fighting back. This is the mods trying to hide from the wrath of Ethan Klein. They do not want Ethan Klein to be able to get their information, to discover them, to be able to out them, to be able to out their messages. They are trying to make their whole case in this argument before we've even had what's called discovery, before we even have any facts come out. They're just trying to gush 700 pages to prevent us from looking at the facts. The H3 Snark subreddit, a safe and a safe and anonymous space for criticism. H3. From a legal standpoint, it does not matter what your intent is when you file a copyright registration. When you register a copyright, when you file a copyright, it doesn't matter if, as they say here, Ethan laid a trap. Okay, let's say that's true. Let's presume that's true. Let's say he is a Machiavellian evil genius who laid this evil, dastardly trap. Does that change how the law functions? It actually doesn't. It doesn't change the law at all. So the first argument they make is her use is transformative and does not supersede the original. Well, that's where the empty chair comes in. That's where she's got to make the argument that what she did was so important and so innovative that it just totally changed it and made it something different. And it overwhelms the fact that she, with intent, said, please, everybody, watch this instead of his video as a replacement. So it's got to be so different that it's okay to replace the thing.
Yeah, so these defenses are pretty weak as predicted. The trap thing doesn't really work because it doesn't obviously change the law, and Ethan isn't like a Fed trying to set up random people here, so that excuse just doesn't work there. And Denims obviously did not, transform the work enough to overpower the fact that she wanted to just take viewers from it, and this wasn't some noble deed trying to spread the word of Ethan's good video or something like that. So obviously that's not going to work. And the only thing I'm thinking is that the lawyer fees are just going to be nuts for these mods. Now, we all know Casey Denims and Froggen's financial situation. Froggen is absolutely cooked. Casey is cooked, but apparently might have some wealthy relatives as well. Denims is sort of in that midway. She got that OnlyFans. We don't really know how much that is making, but all of this is, in the end, going to be very expensive for them because none of them are actually millionaires, right? It's going to be very costly for them, and this could go up to, $100K, $200K, $500,000, a lot of money here. Now, about these Reddit mods, unless they actually have like rich moms and rich dads who can pay all this stuff, like having your lawyer write out 700, 1,000 pages or whatever, that is going to be significant amount of legal fees as well. So yeah, we'll have to see what actually ends up happening. Obviously, they have still not been fully unmasked here. That's what they're sort of fighting here. Then Legal Mindset points out that Denim's lawyers actually admitted that Ethan's video was factual.
Ethan Klein's highly factual works support greater dissemination. So literally here, people, we have Denim's lawyers saying Ethan Klein is right and factual. What? I mean, I read this and I blinked. I'm like, wow, that's one way to put it. That's one way to put it. And I know what they're trying to do legally, but this puts Denims in a really awkward position because now if she says anything online other than everything that Ethan Klein said is true and factual, it's not opinion, everything that Ethan Klein said is fact, Denims, because if you go online now, Denims, and say that anything that Ethan Klein says is his opinion, well, that hurts your legal argument, darling. And that's not good for you. because your lawyers just argued that he is indeed making factual arguments. Oopsie.
Right, so I'm assuming this is referring to the video that was being reacted to, right? So this would be the content nuke on Hassan, which would mean they just admitted that the content nuke on Hassan is factual information. That is just not something that you actually want to admit, considering all of the implications of that, because there's a lot of things said in that video that's pretty damning right there, right? So basically what they're trying to do here is praise Ethan's work, being like, oh, it's factual, so we need to get so many eyeballs on it to spread this amazing information, this amazing piece that he's created. And it's basically them like bending over backwards, trying to twist it, contort it, find any way to sort of win this case, present all sorts of arguments from every single side. And I just find it hilarious, like the absolute panic they are going through, to the point where they have to glaze Ethan Klein and his video and even admit the stuff in his video is factual. This is like the ultimate humiliation ritual for Denims.
Denims did not negatively impact the market. She increased it. Now, this is the most like, and I put the stonks over here because this is the most like, you know, meme coin sort of logic out there that I've ever seen in my life. It's sort of like Denims increased the market because everyone has enjoyed watching, along with my channel, every other channel, and roasting Denims, and how absolutely brain dead her take is on the law, and how brain dead her position here is, and how screwed she is legally. She's increased the market by people roasting her, by people coming out there and making fun of her. So it's not something she intended to do. It's an unintentional secondary effect. It's very hilarious.
Well, I mean, technically, that is an argument. Like, Denims is just so stupid that so many people made fun of her. Therefore, just all of this amount of attention is increasing the market of Ethan's video. Oh my God, that is the defense that is happening here. You know what? You know, whatever happens in this lawsuit, just the fact that this ultimate omega humiliation ritual is actually taking place is just so freaking awesome. I love it, because this is the exact thing that they wanted to avoid. They were being so stubborn, you know, refusing to apologize to Ethan, refusing to admit any wrongdoing, right? And that was because of their ego, right? So that is something that they cared about even more than all of this money and all of this sort of back and forth and everything, right? And here, they're going to have to pay the money and engage in this absolute, embarrassment of admitting that Ethan is just right about everything, and that, admit all these embarrassing things, that they're increasing the market of Ethan's video by getting humiliated by everybody on the internet. I mean, Ethan must be just having the time of his life, just enjoying this so much, dude. And it's amazing because Denims absolutely deserves this, right? We've countless examples of her being the terminal piece of shit, right? Then he talks about the fourth argument, that Ethan's video doesn't actually deserve copyright protection.
Stripping the original elements, TEI's thin copyrights deserve little protection. That's what I call the Trojan ultra thin argument. That's a Trojan ultra thin argument. And that one I throw out there because, look, they're trying to say that nothing that TEI does is original, that it's not something that is like, it's not something that is creative, it's not something that is on its own. And that's not true at all. And that's fundamental copyright analysis failure. That's a huge failure. What Ethan Klein put together is quintessentially unique, because even taking clips of things and rearranging them has been held in court to be very, very much original, creative, etc., and deserving of copyright. If you were to compile a bunch of clips and take those together and mash them up in a unique way, you can get a copyright for that. That's absolutely permissible. So trying to say, well, because it's clips and clips and clips, it deserves no copyright protection, that doesn't work. If reacting to clips is that's not protected at all, then every single clip reaction channel on the internet, right? Every single channel that uses clips everywhere, people can just take the whole thing and repost it. Does that sound right? Does that sound like that's a thing that people are going to allow? Just everybody fully copy pasting their channels. You're going to have a bunch of bots out there just spamming out new channels, and they're not going to be able to stop them because, hey, that's fair use, right? No, that's not how it works. These are laughable arguments. These are arguments that are so funny that, I mean, literally it hurts.
Oh my God, this is so bad. I mean, they're actually just grasping at straws over and over, basically trying anything and everything to make this work. First, they praise the work and they say, okay, this work is so good and so factual, we actually need to distribute it. Then they say that, okay, the market is being increased because, you know, everybody's making fun of me. And then they immediately say that it's not even that special and therefore it doesn't deserve copyright protection or whatever. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, I don't know the full legal analysis here. I'm going off what Legal Mindset is saying here, but I feel like surely people would see this and go that, okay, this is pretty contradictory, right? If it's going to be like a jury trial or whatever, right? I feel like the average person would go look at this and be like, okay, this just doesn't make any sense, right? So then he talks about Reddit's involvement in this.
Many of my fellow moderators have endured a deep psychological impact and fear of retaliation, to the point that Reddit admins offered us free subscriptions to privacy software that would help remove our PII. PII is personal identifiable information. And by the way, guys on this channel, remember that term. PII is some of the most, that is the gold of the modern era. Every company is trying to farm your PII. If they're trying to give you something for free, it's because they're farming you like an NPC. They're just farming you for that sweet, sweet PII. That's really at the undercurrent of a lot of what's going on. But here we go. Reddit here says, hey, we're going to help you scrub that information from the internet in case we are doxxed and harassed. So Reddit is actually engaging in potential, and once again, I'm going to say allegedly, according to this statement, once again, this is their own filing, but they literally told on themselves and said Reddit admins are helping them scrub evidence. So this can now be escalated by Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein can look at his lawyers, which I'm sure are going to get this clip. I'm very sure they're going to look at this. Now we're going to go deeper into Reddit and see what's going on here. What is going on with the protection of these people? How deep does this go? Now we may get cell phone logs. Now we may get text messages. Now we may get corporate emails because Reddit admins have decided to step in, not just the mods.
Dude, the fact that some random like petty internet drama might potentially be some precedent-setting case against Reddit is actually crazy, because Reddit is so snark-brained, they legitimately tried to step in and defend the Reddit mods who stepped in to defend Denim. So we're having this ultimate chain of Omega simping. It's like this cringe chain of unemployed, failure human rejects, right? Just trying to essentially protect their queen here, right? It seems like the simping just goes far. The simping goes wide, and it seems all for Queen Denims here, and maybe the other two, but that's what we're assuming right here. And honestly, at this point, anyone who wants to step into the crossfire and be absolutely obliterated, feel free. Feel free. If you want to go down too, it's okay. It's okay, you know? Feel free to step in. Eventually, everything will be revealed, and you will probably be on the losing side here. But I'm just so shocked because I really thought that Reddit would just, you know, completely be hands off of this or something. I knew some of the people there are completely unhinged. You know, they're pretty much fostering a lot of this radical extremism as well, the Hassan side of things as well, on some of their different subreddits and stuff. But yeah, I just didn't expect the admin themselves to be involved. Maybe the platform will be taking action against the admins or something. They're probably not going to stand by them just because of some petty internet beef or whatever, but we'll have to see, because they might be extremely political as well and find a way to make this a political issue and then fight it or something. Who knows? Right, so this next part, the Redditors argue against revealing their identities because, get this, they don't feel safe. How ironic.
Their whole argument for not giving up their information, where their, you know, their messages, etc., is the repercussions if we are unmasked are not hypothetical. It's a harsh reality I know we would face if our identities